Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, dear students. A very good morning to all of you, and thank you for being present for this orientation program that is being held virtually by the university, university-wide. And this particular session, if you are present here, this particular session is an academic advisory session for the School of Law, based at the Howard College campuses and the Pietermaritzburg campuses. Also, this is a first way for us as the School of Law to extend a warm welcome to all of you to our school. We are based in a building on the Howard College campus. The building is called Howard College Building. The campus gets its name from this particular historic building that is right there at the center of the campus. It's a beautiful, regal building, and it's quite fitting that that historical building, the first building on the campus, is the home of the School of Law. So from next week, we'll be welcoming all of you on campus to all our wonderful facilities that are there and introducing you to this wonderful environment that will be your home away from home for the next 4 years or so. So just to very briefly introduce myself and my colleagues that are here present, you would have been in some other sessions earlier this morning, and the people that were facilitating those sessions were colleagues in various departments, administrative departments in the university. They were explaining you some of the necessary information that you need to transition from school to university and get important things like your student cards, access to the computer facilities, understanding the process of registration that will be taking place online. So now myself, my name is Dr. Vishal Serban, and I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Law. And I'm here particularly because I will be the lecturer that will be taking you for the Introduction to Law module. So we will be quite well acquainted during the course of the semester. I have two colleagues here with me as well from the School of Law. I have Dr. Sheetal Soni. She's based at our Pietermaritzburg campus, and she is the academic leader for teaching and learning in our school. And also my colleague, Ms. Misiwe Umalo, and she is also involved with our graduate assistant program, and she lectures on several modules during the course of your studies. What I would like to do, the agenda for today, is I'm going to speak to you a little bit about our school, a little bit about our programs, and that should give you a general overview. And of course, you will get a lot more information as we come along in the forthcoming next week. When you join us, when you commence with your lectures, there will be a lot of information that we'll be providing for you. So we will go through this information as slowly as possible. There's a lot to digest. There's a lot that is new. There's a lot that is overwhelming. But I want you all to be at ease, because we are going to explain all of these processes to you as simply and as efficiently as we can. Now, during the course of this webinar, if any of you have any particular questions that you would like to ask, then you are welcome to use the chat function on the side to address the queries. My colleagues, Dr. Soni and Ms. Nkumalo, will be on standby. They will read your queries, and then we will either respond to those queries on the chat, or we will have a session that we will open the webinar for live conversation, and you can address any queries with us directly. So having said that, I just want to just speak a little bit about the School of Law itself. So what you're registered now is you're registered for a program called the LLB. It's a degree program that is being offered in the School of Law at UKZN. Now, the School of Law has two large branches, so to speak. We are based at Howard College campus, which is in Durban, and we are also based on the Pietermaritzburg campus on the Golf Road precinct. Now, the School of Law itself has an incredibly long history. Now, UKZN itself as an institution is about 18 years old. However, the UKZN has been a result of the merger of two previous institutions, the University of Natal and the University of Durban-Westville. So those two institutions merged in 2004. But prior to that, the School of Law was operating under those institutions. And the history goes so far back that the University of Natal's ancestor institutions, the Natal University College, first started offering a law program in 1910. So essentially what we've had is an unbroken, continuous legal education of over 110 years in the province of KwaZulu-Natal through our ancestor institutions. This effectively, through this merger 18 years ago and becoming UKZN, we established ourselves as one of the largest law schools in the country and one of the most prominent as well. You will see during the course of your studies and during the course of our further orientation programs, you will learn of the extensive alumni at the that have been at this university previously. There have been many chief justices that have been students, past students of this university, many of the judges in the High Court, many prominent politicians, people in the public service, many of the corporates, and many of the large practicing firms or court officials have all been graduates of this law school. So we've had an extensive history. Imagine now over 110 years. So we've had thousands of graduates that has been, so you are here occupying now a seat this year as the class of 2023. You're occupying a seat that where many legal giants have sat in previously before you. Just to give you an indication of the demand for this particular law school, there have been in excess of 250,000 applications for first-year places at UKZN. And in the particular law school, in our law school itself, in Howard College, there have been over 8,000 applications to study at this school. And we only take roughly just over 200 first-year students. So the competition is quite great to get into this institution. And so by your presence here, I think that is in itself a cause for celebration, to be occupying the seat and being able to undertake our programs over the next 4 years. So the university, the law school itself, is a school that has had many, many firsts. We were the first institution to offer a moot program. Last year, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the moot program. I'll speak about that in a moment as well. We started off the street law program in the early 1970s as well. In fact, the professor that started the street law program is still very well associated with our school. And we also started the law clinics as well. Many of the programs that we started were some of the first in the country. Like our maritime law programs were some of the first in the country. Our human rights programs were some of the first in the country. So we've had a history of being a pioneering law school itself. Aside from all of those many firsts that we've had, we also have an extensive amount of resources that's available to you. Now, aside from the beautiful facilities, the actual building, the lecture rooms that we have, we also have a well-equipped specialist law library in the Howard College building, which you will have access to. There's seating areas, there's computer lands available for you, and of course, all the resources of the library itself. There's over 37,000 hard copy books of all areas of South African law, international law, foreign legal journals. And besides the hard copies themselves, you will have access to a whole range of online resources, a massive online library that the university spends billions of rands subscribing to these databases, that you have access to that. And this will open your eyes to the tremendous opportunities of research and exploration in the law itself. So this program itself, which I'm going to speak about now in a moment, it opens many doors for you. This program, the LLB, it stands for, it's technically, it sounds like a very odd acronym because you would have learned in your forms, you look at the forms in English, it says Bachelor of Laws. Technically, an acronym should be BOL, Bachelor of Laws, but the acronym says LLB. So what does that mean? It means, it's a Latin word, which means Baccalaureus Legum. So it really means a Bachelor of Laws. It's just a Latin word. It shows how old this notion of studying for a law degree is, and we'll speak about it in our first year module. We'll delve into a deep dive into the history of the law itself. So this LLB degree that you come out at the end of 4 years of study, it will open the gateway for you to enter professional practice as a legal practitioner. So after this LLB that you do, one of the primary career path is to enter professional practice as a legal practitioner. You have the traditional roles of the attorney and the advocate. So during that professional practice, you will also do further exams. You'll do training in the form of practical vocational training or pupillage, depending if you want to go the attorney or the advocate route. So there's a whole series of professional development that the LLB opens the gateway to. Of course, if you don't wish to enter into practice as a lawyer per se, a legal practitioner, there are many, many other career paths that are open to you. You can enter into the public service, you can enter into the corporate sector. Almost every large listed company in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, all these companies have legal departments, legal divisions, they need counsel, and so the career opportunities are immense. Also in the law program itself, it also opens the doors of opportunity to many postgraduate studies as well. You would find remarkable stories in our alumni newsletters on the website of students that have come from, in the past, from very impoverished backgrounds, very rural areas, have come into a completely new environment in the university, but they have excelled in this environment. And through that, through the law school itself, there are opportunities for you to apply for bursaries. We have had a student that had, in the past, just a recent example of a student that came from a small town called Escort in KwaZulu-Natal. Came from a very impoverished background, a very rural school, came in, studied, excelled. And then the law school, through the law school, you get opportunities to apply for bursaries like the Rhodes Scholarship. This student then went on to study for a master's degree at the University of Oxford in England. We've had students, many of our past students that have gone on to study for postgraduate qualifications at Harvard University and many others. I took, for example, a student a few years ago, was in the first year, went through the final year, and my area of specialization is the law of the sea and maritime law. That student went on to do a postgraduate studies, and then is now doing a research internship at the National University of Singapore in the International Law Department. So the opportunities for you to spread your wings are remarkable. We will speak to you about how to progress. We will give you the wherewithal to find these opportunities, to build the skills that are necessary. So in summary, then, you at an institution that is extraordinarily prestigious, has a long history itself, has a very high pedigree, has a huge alumni basis. So having said that, then the next part of this presentation is to understand what exactly will you be doing here in the university. What is your degree program? So the important thing to remember at the outset is that the process of studying at a tertiary institution is a bit different from the process that you've had in secondary school. One of the first things that I did is I introduced myself as your lecturer. I didn't introduce myself as your teacher. So that immediately implies there's a difference in how we transfer information to you. Unlike a high school teacher, where there's a process of providing a lesson in class, we are lecturers. We impart information to you through something called lectures and tutorials. But we provide you with information, but at university, the objective is for you to use this information, to think critically, to apply that information to all the scenarios and possibilities that we present to you. So that is very important. The methodology is a bit different from that. And alongside that notion of being able to think independently and think critically means that you must take your own responsibilities for your studies itself. Now, remember, the classes are much larger in general at university than in high school. Sometimes in high school, you would have had a class of maybe about between 30 to 50 pupils. But you might find yourself here in the law school, over 100 students will be sitting in a lecture venue. Although we try our very best, and particularly myself in the first year program, I try to get to know every student. And very often we do get to know all of you on a name basis as the years progress. Sometimes we get to know you so well that we write you glowing reference letters when you're applying for jobs, when you're applying for scholarships. And so we do get to know you very well. But sometimes in many instances, if you choose to, you can just float through in almost anonymity in the law school itself, because the responsibility, we don't sit in the class and say, dear student, Misiwe, are you here present? We're not going to phone your parents to see why you were not present in class. We're not going to phone you to remind you that there's a test on a certain day. So we provide you with course outlines. We provide you the information of when the lectures are. So it's up to you now to be present at those lectures. It's up to you to take the notes in the class. It's up to you to devise your own program of research. It's up to you to devise your own program of studying and preparing for tests. So there's a lot of responsibility that lies on you. But at the same time of saying that there's a lot of responsibility that lies on you, we also offer an exceptional amount of support to you. There are a number of people that are here that are vested in seeing you succeed and seeing you through this process. So as you're seeing me yourself, I'm the lecturer. I lecture on the module. I give you all my contact details. You're available to consult with me during the course of the semester. We also have graduate teaching assistants. We also have tutors who are final year students. We all have various other support staff like academic development officers. We have student counselors. I'll invite the student counselors earlier in February to address you in the class. We'll have modules on helping you to develop your study skills, your research skills. There are sessions available in the university to enable you to attend where you can develop your study skills, develop your reading skills, develop your thinking skills. So there's a whole host of opportunities and support that is available to you to take advantage of. But underscoring all of that is an inherent responsibility on yourself to take charge of your studies through this process. So having said that, that there's many different career paths, we've spoken about the pedigree and the history of our institution. I'll speak a lot more about it as we develop more in the modules. You'll see me in the first year modules, and we'll talk a little bit more about our wonderful institution, and we'll take you around and show you all our facilities. So what I want to do very briefly is to I'm just going to share a few documents with you. Now, these documents will be provided to you as well. Just a few points that I do want to mention as we go along. So what we're seeing, I'm just going to take you through this document. What we're doing is we're offering you a qualification called the LLB, right? So as we said, there are a lot of rules and policies that are applicable in this program. We're going to make these rules and policies available to you. We're going to explain it to you. But remember, I mentioned at the outset, you need to take note of your own progress. It's the responsibility for monitoring your performance lies with yourself. So now a few technical points about the LLB program. So the LLB qualification is made up of something called a collection of credit points. What is a credit? A credit point reflects the amount of work that that has to be put into a particular module. So one credit point is the equivalent of about 10 hours of study and lecture time. So you do a series of courses that carry a certain number of credits. And ultimately, at the end of your qualification, you would have had to have earned 520 credit points. Now, this is not the same as marks. This is a credit point that you get. It's a credit to you for completing a certain module that has a certain amount of credit points. So this will be completed over 8 semesters. Now, each year is divided, the university calendar divides each year into semesters. So you have 2 semesters in a calendar year, semester 1 and semester 2. The first semester usually starts from about February and it ends round about in June. The other semester starts at the end of July and ends somewhere around in November. Those sessional dates, all the dates relevant, you can see that on the university website. They're called sessional dates. So this degree program will take you 8 semesters to complete. So in other words, it will take you 4 years to complete. I'm going to show you now in a moment what are all the modules that you do. So the modules are like the subjects that you do. So you will do a series of subjects through these 4 years. Now, the vast majority of the subjects that you're going to be, roughly about 40 or so subjects that you will do over the 4 years. Of those subjects that you are going to be doing, about 8, you will do 7 modules that are termed non-legal modules. So in your first year, you will find that you will have to choose modules that are not purely law-based. So you can choose a module from the Department of Classics. You can choose a module from the Department of Philosophy or Psychology or different languages. So essentially, there's another school called the Humanities School, and they offer various first-year subjects in all the various disciplines that they do. And you will have to choose 7 modules that are termed non-legal modules, that you'll do the bulk of them in your first year. So your first year will resemble very much like it would feel like you're in a Bachelor of Arts degree, because the bulk of your courses that you're doing are what is termed non-legals. And in your first year, you will do very basic introductory modules in law. But when you move into your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year of the study, you're doing full-on law modules at a full intensity, full of cases to read and statutes to interpret. Each module, so modules are either 16 credit points or 8 credit points. Remember, as I told you, once you pass a particular module, then all of those modules go towards your academic record, and you must get 520 in order to be awarded a law degree. Now, of those non-legal modules, the 7 non-legals that you do, 2 would have to be English modules. Now, there are certain exemptions for doing the 2 English modules. So if you get 80% or more for English in matric, you'll be exempted from doing one of the English modules. So in other words, you can do another non-legal module. But if you had less than 80%, then you must do 2 English language modules. So those 2 English language modules will be one of the 7 non-legals that you will have to do. So in other words, you have to do another 5 non-legal modules. Also, if you have been accepted into this LLB and you've already done a previous degree qualification, then you can be exempted from an English module. So in other words, you'll do 1 English module and another 6 non-legal modules. So in the university in 2014, there was a new rule that was instituted that all first-year students must complete a module in isiZulu. So now this module that you do, will be one of the 7 modules that you will do. So most of you that have got under 80%, you'll be doing 2 English modules, and you'll be doing an isiZulu module. However, this is a basic module to teach you the basics of that language. So if you are fluent in isiZulu, so in other words, if you're a first language isiZulu speaker, then you will not be eligible to do this particular module. You'll have to obtain an exemption. So in other words, you will get a special letter saying you do not have to do this module. Right? So you don't have to register for this, but you must do some other non-legal module instead. So remember, in summary, what I'm saying is that you have 7 non-legal modules to do. So for a lot of you, it'll be like you're doing 2 English modules, an isiZulu module, and then you'll be doing another 4 non-legal modules. So you can do a history module, a philosophy module, something in psychology. So mostly these are from your humanities departments. Sometimes you might not want to do an introduction to physics one, etc., because that will lead, those modules are developing into very technical ones, going into different degree programs. So the bulk, almost all our students do non-legals from the humanities department. It has a lot more relevance to your legal studies going forward. So that's what I wanted to speak about in terms of the non-legals and the length of the degree and what a credit point is. Now let's dive into this a little bit more deeper. Whilst I'm speaking in the webinar, remember you are also very welcome to pose any questions in the chat. My colleagues, Dr. Soni and Ms. Malo are present. They are going to be filtering some of your questions. So we will attend to that. And then we'll also, just as a reminder, we'll also go live in a short while to enable you to ask us any particular questions. So that's the first document that I wanted to look at. Remember, we will give you copies of these documents, so you don't have to rush and take down any notes at this stage. Also, another document that we'll be giving you, this is a 5-page document. It talks about being in the university itself. Remember, although we spoke to you about being very independent in how you approach your studies, but remember, you are in a particular community, you are in this academic community, you are in the school, we have a certain ethos, we have a certain way of doing things, and we have certain expectations of you as students. So this document explains what our values are. So one of the guiding values of this university is something called the REACH-T principles, where we talk about things like respect, like mutual respect, excellence, accountability, client orientation, honesty, trust. These are values that underscore it. So remember, we do not tolerate in the law school acts of bullying, harassment, and discrimination. So there are processes where if students' conduct do not meet these particular standards, matters can be brought before a proctor and students can be prosecuted. In the same way as well, it's not only just in terms of your conduct, but the way in which you manage your academic activities. So if at any point in your studies, you're suspected of committing acts of something called plagiarism, which we will explain to you in due course what plagiarism is, and cheating in tests. We'll explain to you all the rules that are there, and we'll explain to you what are the consequences of breaching those rules, where you can be prosecuted in the student discipline court. So it's important for you to remember that there are these particular rules that are there, that are in place, but these rules are not meant to stifle you, but to create an environment that you are able to flourish in your studies. Our commitments as a school of law and all the support that is available, we have a lot of support to help you with emotional, personal, academic, and social challenges. We have a number of support services that are there. that will be there to assist you through this process. And you're invited and encouraged to take full advantage of this during the course of your studies. We'll provide you with the information for all the emergency services. If there are students that have disabilities that require any special needs, we have departments that will assist you. We will make special provisions with how we provide our assessments to take into account those students that have any special needs, and we will accommodate you. So we have various people, we've got contact numbers, we've got email addresses, we provide all of this information to you. We will speak to you in future. How do you communicate with us? How do you communicate with your lecturers and your fellow classmates as well? How do you interact in the lectures, in the tutorials? What are the processes of preparation? So these are all the things that we will discuss with you as we go along. So how do you make queries? What is the process of querying? So for the time being, this is why I particularly came in to this particular orientation session to speak to you, to show you my face, because I am one of the first ports of call. I am your first year lecturer. So you'll be seeing a lot of me in the first couple of weeks, but I also have a number of other colleagues that are involved in these first year programs. But so to speak, if in school you had someone called a form teacher, your home teacher, that's pretty much who I am right now. So you can field all your queries to me at the outset, and I can direct you to the relevant people to address any of the queries that you might have. The last thing that I do want to discuss with you is the actual structure of the LLB program itself. And this is something that I think that will be very interesting for you. It gives you an overview or a big picture of how your degree program is structured. Right, so what I've just said now is very introductory parts. I've introduced myself, I've spoken about the history of the law school, the various career paths you can take, some of the basic fundamental things you've got to know about the rules and the regulations and the processes. Now, what I'm going to show you now is the structure of the LLB degree. What are the courses that you're going to be doing? And how are these courses held? In what way do we transmit this information to you? I'll tell you about lectures, about tutorials, about DP, and about academic progression, examinations, tests. But these are very much theoretical courses that you're going to be doing. There are some practical courses as well. But also it's important to remember, in tandem with this academic work that we're doing, there's also a number of skills that are going to be imparted to you during the course of these 4 years. We are going to make sure that you hone in on your study skills, that you develop effective study skills. That includes basic concepts like taking effective notes in a lecture, preparing for examinations, starting to research for assignments, and starting to write appropriately for the problem-solving exercises that we're going to give you, the research projects that we're going to give you. So we're going to equip you with those relevant skills. So there are research skills, there are writing skills, there are study skills, there are problem-solving skills, there are professional development skills. In some way, we give you some training in professional practice in your final year, but ultimately, that's not the main function of the LLB, because you will, subsequent to your LLB, do professional training courses when you do get admitted into the legal practitioner profession. And of course, we'll explain to you processes like doing effective research. There's certain skills that you need to research the law. It's not just going on the internet on Google and searching for legal aspects. There are special databases that we use. There are special citations to find the legal material. We're going to show you all of that. And in fact, within your first year, you're going to have a lot of the skills already now entrenched into your legal regimen, legal studies regimen as we progress. So let me then switch to this document, which is the final document that I want to show you before we take in a few queries. I hope that you can see this. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. All right. Let me just check with if I can just see with the reaction button, if you can see this document that I have on the screen, if you can just use the reaction buttons at the bottom. All right, excellent. So now, remember, what did I speak to you before about is that your degree is going to take place over 4 years, all right? So each year is divided into 2 semesters, right? So the first half of the year is the first semester, the second half of the year is the second semester, all right? So now you're going to be doing various courses. They are called in university, they're called a module. So now what does it mean? A module means that you'll have a specific lecturer for each module. So now if you're seeing my face and saying, okay, is this guy going to take me through all my subjects? No, the law school is comprised of various lecturers. The lecturers have various ranks. There are lecturers, senior lecturers, associate professors. There are professors. The lecturers themselves have various qualifications. Many of them have PhDs or doctorates in law. Some of them, a lot of them are completing their doctorates in law. So your lecturers are experts in particular fields of law. We're going to tell you that the law is made of many different fields of law. It's like a great tree with many different branches. Unlike maybe a more like a commerce module you might be doing in your first year, you taught the basics of maybe certain accounting practices. Then in your second year, you take that same basics and you develop it a little further. Then in your third year, you take it and you develop it a little bit further and make it more complicated. That's not so much the journey that you're taking in the law school. It's not like every year is getting more and more difficult. It's like you're doing something that's broader. So in 1 year, you're doing a particular area of law that's very different from another particular area of law. So like the great tree starts off in branches, one branch into public law and then into private law. And then in private law, it branches off into many different aspects. I'll explain that to you in your first semester's lectures. So in your first year, you'll be doing a module called Introduction to Law. That means you'll be sitting. Now, 16 credits means that there'll be 52 lectures over about 14 weeks. So you're going to be sitting every week. You'll be sitting for roughly 4 lectures. You'll be coming to campus. You'll check the timetable, when your lecture is. You will check where your venue is. And then you'll say that lecture 1 is on a Monday at 8:30 in L4. That's in a certain building. So you must make your way to this building, L4, at 8:30 in the morning, and you sit in and you attend a 45-minute lecture or a 90-minute lecture. So Introduction to Law, there will be 4 lectures. So you'll be sitting and seeing me 4 times in the week. That's about, say about 3 hours of lectures in the week. And then in the rest of the time, you're doing your other modules as well that also have roughly about 3 hours of lectures per week. 3, 6, 9, 12 hours of lectures. But remember, that's a lot of people in the working world work 40 hours per week. So you are just doing like not a full working hours like someone in the working world would be doing. The rest of the time is obviously the time of your own for preparing and studying and reading and researching. And of course, it's university. You have the ability to have a balanced life. And we'll talk to you about that as well. You're part of student societies, you're doing leisure, you're doing research, you're doing sporting activities, social activities. So there's a lot of time for you to do a lot of those activities. You do all the other things like tutorials as well, smaller sessions. So you come to something called a lecture, which is not as interactive a session. It's pretty much like what we're doing here. I'm speaking to you for a period of like 45 minutes, but you also have in the week, we give you an exercise to do and we divide you into smaller groups where you discuss it. And that's called a tutorial. So in your first year, in your first semester, you're doing 4 modules. Remember, I explained to you there's certain instances where you can be exempt from doing one of the English modules if you had 80% or more, or if you've done a prior degree. And so you can, so let's say you'll be doing Introduction to Law, you'll be doing a classics module, a psychology module, a history module, a philosophy module. So then these 2, the Introduction to Law, which is what I'm going to be taking you for in the first starting off, that's your first law module. And then you'll see another module where we take those foundational aspects and we ground you in it. And then the class itself is divided into two groups, Group A, Group B. There are roughly about 100 to 150 students in each group. In the second year, now you start seeing you are delving deeper into the legal process. This is like pretty much very general. As I said, it seems more like a BA degree, but there's a purpose and a reason for that. We'll come to that at a later stage to explain to you the rationale for doing all of that. It'll become more apparent when we do our introduction to law module. And in your second year, in the semester, you start doing things like criminal law, family law, the law of persons, property law. Now, in each of these modules, you're going to start seeing that there's a big jump between your first year and your second year. Now you're going to get much more intense into the law. A module like family law means you've got to read lots and lots of cases, read lots and lots of statutes, do a lot of problem-solving exercises and different scenarios. So now you're starting to delve deeper into the law and researching, and you're going for very intense lectures. So you've got to be there for all those classes, do all the work that you're doing. And you can see then in the second semester, you're doing very weighty subject, constitutional law, human rights law, interpretation of law. Remember, a lot of you will have to do a non-legal module like isiZulu, so we can, that crops in. And then, then you move into your third year. So you see now you're delving into other laws, the laws of contract. It's very commercially based. International law, it's very public law based. You learn about things like legal diversity that looks like, we look at customary law, you look at Islamic Sharia law, you look at Hindu law. So you're looking at very interesting different legal perspectives. We teach you aspects like accounting for legal practice. So there is a little bit of numbers there, not too much. Criminal procedure, evidence, jurisprudence, the study, the philosophy of law, labor law. Then you finally reach your final year. And this is quite interesting. In your final year, you do subjects like administrative law. And when you're doing these aspects, you understand many of the things that are happening in the public sphere. So many of these, there are cases that are happening involving the politicians, the president, and people are suing, and matters are going to court in the public sphere. That's where your administrative law comes in. Then there's a module called professional training too, where after you've done now, remember now, you've entered your fourth year, you've been studying the law, you've been sitting and hiding away under the books and reading and analyzing. Then now in your final year, the final thing that we do to prep you up for professional practice is that we give you a little scenario. It could be on any one of these areas that the courses that you've done. And in that scenario, you're given a week to prepare a case. So you're going to come in and deliver an oral argument before the judges on that particular area. So there's going to be another student's going to be an opponent. One will be the applicant and the respondent. The appellant and the respondent. There's going to be a fictional court that is going to be created, and you're going to argue this matter. But remember, we are preparing you to do this. In the first semester, you're doing a professional training one, and then this one is the actual moot itself. One of the nice things I mentioned earlier on, I said we were the first university in the country to establish the moot program. It's a court, it's an advocacy training program. So the students that are the best performing ones, we have something called the Ellie Newman Moot Final. So you'll see in our Howard College building is a beautiful music theater, which we convert into a courtroom, and we invite members of the public and the legal profession, and we actually have real judges of the High Court. And then the best performing students, they now get to argue a case before those judges, and they have the whole law school and the members of the public, the profession comes in. It's an incredible experience, and we hope that all of you aspire to reach that particular aspect. And so, folks, that really is and one of the things in your final year is that you can have a choice of doing one of these three ones, teaching legal skills. The students that do this in their final year are the ones that are going to be delivering your tutorials in your introduction to law module and your foundations of South African law. So remember, I give you 4 lectures a week, and then I told you you have something called a tutorial. Now the tutorial is a little exercise, And then the students in the final year that are doing this module on teaching legal skills, they will facilitate those tutorials. The other one is a unique process that was introduced by our law school in the 1970s, a street law, where you go out to public places like schools and prisons, and you teach basic concepts of the law to lay people. So that's a street law program. And then there's one called the clinical law program. So there you can choose to actually be involved in the law clinic, where they're actual clients, they're indigent people, poor people that can't afford legal services. But the law school has a clinic, a law clinic, where people go there and get legal advice and representation. And then the students get involved in that particular process. Now, all of these modules that we've shown here, with the exception of these like non-legals, you can choose which non-legals to do. The rest of these modules, you have to do them. Even if you have no interest, for example, in the law of family law. You say, I will never be a family lawyer. I'll never want to do that. So why do I have a choice whether to do that? The answer to that is no. All of these modules are compulsory modules. But when you reach your final year, you can have a choice of doing something. Now these, remember, you see these are credit points, they're 8 credit points. Remember I told you all of these credits add up to about 520. The 8 credit point is a course that has, it's an elective module. It has less lectures per week, so it's not as voluminous as a module that has 16 credits, for example. So, and a module like this, you'll attend lectures, only 2 lectures a week, as opposed to 4 lectures a week. The exam will be 2 hours as opposed to 3 hours. So you can choose interesting modules like gender and the law, maritime law, that's a module that I teach, income tax law, bioethics, or you could do a research project, or you could do things like environmental law, intellectual property law, international criminal law. And remember, each of these are lectured by colleagues that are experts in that particular field. All right, so that was a lot of information that we've now put for you. I'm now gonna stop that share. And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to just pause now for a moment. Let me just see from the reactions amongst us, how is everyone feeling? Just use the reaction button based on everything that I've said so far. Remember, if you don't follow everything, it's fine. If you need more information, we're going to provide you with all the information. We're going to provide you for all the support. All right, so now there's a lot of questions on the side. I just want to find out, my colleagues would have been responding to some of them as I've been speaking. Now, you would have seen here the email address for Dr. Stevens. It's written in the chat, stevens@ukzn.ac.za. She's our academic leader for teaching and learning. So many of the queries can be addressed to her directly. You can also address the queries to myself or my colleague Misiwe, and we can assist you and provide you with all the information. So let me I'm just going to ask our colleague Thandi to just find out if we are able to now switch this onto a live chat where the students can come on by audio and ask us any questions. So now we're going to be open for about 10 minutes or so to take any questions from you. Let me just see whilst that is taking place if I can answer any questions on the chat. Okay. Okay. Dr. Soni, I think Dr. Soni has been replying to some of the questions. Wandile asked something about, is maritime law available as a module in duration of completing this degree? So remember, Wandile, maritime law is an elective module that's done in the final year of study. So you do not have to do that particular module as a requirement to complete your degree. Right. All right. So, but other than that, the last thing that I want to mention is this. that I'm going to see everyone in the class next week, Monday, when we start off our lectures. I'm going to explain to you what the Introduction to Law course is about. But during the course of that week, we're going to give you information. We're going to have another orientation program for you on campus that we are doing as a law school. Now, this orientation program that you're here presently with, it's facilitated university-wide. So all the first-year students across all the disciplines are getting information. Now, you are here in this webinar because you're going for the LLB, but also the information we're going to provide you, further information about being a student in the law school. I'm going to have a team of students, my current students, my final year students. We're all going to come in and meet you on campus. We're going to have a very nice morning together next week Friday. We're going to sit for a few hours. We're going to show you around the varsity. We're going to take you for a tour. We're going to take all the questions that you're going to have. We're going to show you about all the exciting activities that are there, all the student societies, the boot clubs, the Students for Law and Social Justice, the Black Lawyers Association, all of the other student bodies are going to come in and talk to you about all their exciting activities and things that they're going to be involved in. We're going to talk to you about how do you survive your first week at varsity? How do you survive your first month and your first year? What are all the important things that you're going to need to know? So if you don't have the questions right now for us, we also will provide you with all the relevant information as we go along. There's an important website called Learn. It's Learn 2023 at ukzn.ac.za. Now that, I think Ms. Sewe can type that up in the chat. Now that website is where we're going to provide you with a lot of the material, the course materials. We're going to provide you with all the announcements for all the various courses. Sometimes we'll even do certain assessments online on that program. Sometimes we might even do certain lectures online like that. And we have the majority of our instruction that will take place on campus in lecture venues. Okay, so so one of Anil is asking if you can be a corporate lawyer with only an LLB. So yes, so now remember, you can branch out into any field of law with your LLB degree. It's not like, for example, if you're doing certain, like in health sciences, if you're doing a medical degree and you want to be a specialist gynecologist, there's special further career courses and things that you need to do. So if you say, I want to be a corporate lawyer or an environmental lawyer, the LLB is the qualification that allows you entry into the legal profession. You can decide from there where your specialization lies, if you choose to have that kind of specialization. So the LLB is like this one-stop shop. Remember, I told you all the courses are, most of the courses are compulsory. So you would have had the ability to have a well-rounded overview of the entire legal system and an entire suite of laws that are there in the in the LLB, that we cover in the LLB. Okay, I don't see any other questions directed at me. Maybe if I can invite my colleague Ms. Sewe is there. I don't know if Ms. Sewe, do you want to make any further remarks? Dr. Soni, if you want to make any further remarks, I can open the floor to the both of you. If there's anything that you want to say to the students.
Good morning, students. So I am Ms. Nomalo, like Dr. Serban has said. I will be obviously with you in your first year because I will be working together with the graduate teaching assistants. And I've been answering some of your questions in the chat. I know that a lot of you have asked, where do you get your timetable? Dr. Serban, can I just go ahead and answer that question? Because a lot of the students have posed, where do they get their timetable? So if you go into your web browser and you go into UKZN, so you go into the UKZN website and you go onto student portal, okay? They are bold orange blocks, okay? where you can get your timetable. It says lecture timetable. So you click there and you go to your particular school, and obviously you go into LLB, and that's where you will get your timetable. So your timetable will have the date on when you will be attending, the time or the period, and the venue at which you'll be attending at. And a lot of students also asked when is the first day of lecture. So the first day would be the 13th of February 2023. That is Monday next week. And I know that one of the students have asked about NSFAS and whether they, if they have not been approved for NSFAS. I've said to Vuyokazi, the student that asked that question, that I've referred the question to the financial department and I await a response. So could Vuyokazi please send me privately the email address so that I can respond accordingly once I receive the response from the financial department. I think those were mostly the questions that we received, and some questions are about residents. And if you do have questions about residents, please email me or send through privately your email address so that I can respond to your queries with regards to residents. Okay, thank you. That is all that I wish to address at this moment.
Sorry, Monsieur. I think I saw one question. Yeah, there was about the online platform. So I think Dr. Sonia has answered it. It's called learn2023.ukzn.ac.za. From Monday, you'll already start. Now listen to me very carefully, all of you, because I'm also your lecturer. There's going to be work that you're going to start doing straight from Monday. And on Monday morning, there's going to be materials already uploaded for you to start reading. And I expect you to start working in advance. You've had quite a nice break, everybody. You've had a chance to rest and relax. And there was a stressful wait for your metric results, I'm sure. But now you're here and we're ready to hit the ground running. And so there's a 30-page reading that I'm going to be uploading for you on Monday morning on the Learn page. After we have our lectures, you're going to be able to access that and we're going to start hitting the road running. So I'm going to look forward to seeing all of you in class in the lecture room on Monday. The timetable will show you the actual lecture venue. So if you're having any problems with that, please chat to my colleague, Ms. Malo, and she will help you once more to find the timetable, at what time your lectures start, and we'll take it from there. The School of Law timetable will be in there. You should be able to have a login for the Learn page, and we will see you on Monday for the first lecture. And I will start taking you through all the processes. And then we will, as I mentioned, we will have another event, another orientation on campus next week, Friday. And then further down the line, we'll have another special event for law students. It's called the First Year Pledge Ceremony. It's an academic event that we're going to have as well. And during the course of the year, there's a number of other activities that happen on campus, and we'll start telling you a lot more about that. So we really look forward to seeing all of you at the university bright and early on Monday, and we're ready to hit the road running and start our lectures. All right, so please come with the pen and paper as well. I prefer you to start, carry a pen and paper so that you can take down any notes and that we discuss of anything we discuss in class, and we'll see you there. All right. I think Tandiwe, I think that's okay. So I think Rosemary also is here. She's one of our senior librarians as well. They will explain to you all of those ICS processes. How do you get a login? How do you get an email address? How do you go on to learn? So this session was just to tell you a bit about the structure of your degree program, and that's what we've explained. All of this information that I put up on the screen, we'll make that available to you in person. So it's a real pleasure to have met you virtually. Of course, I'm seeing, let me just see, I'm just seeing blank screens, but I hope that when I see you on Monday, we'll get a chance to speak to each other and get to know each other, and we look forward to taking this journey with you through the LLB process. All right. Tandiwe, I think that's it from my side. And I think I'm happy to bring this webinar to a close. I think that being here for an hour is quite a lot of information. So if there's any further queries, we'll leave you to my colleagues, Tandiwe, and I thank you all for being part of this session. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you, Dr. Serban. Just to remind all the students that orientation is still continuing through our first year experience. There will be more sessions throughout the course of this week. Please check our Facebook page, CLMS, UKZN Facebook page. All the information is posted on there, and you should also have received some SMSs regarding the sessions and how to register. Thank you everyone for joining us, and welcome to the College of Law and Management Studies at UKZN, and we hope you'll have a fruitful university experience with us. Thank you. Have a great day further.